Imagine living most of your life with a sight and then losing it. Found myself being paralyzed with a fear, living in that environment for 23 years and becoming accustomed to that system and the individuals that were around me. There's a lot of people in my family I had no contact or limited contact with them. Even though it's hostile, I got accustomed to it. I became accustomed to it. It's not as black and white as somebody bumping into you and an altercation occurs, but it's a system where it's designed by the people that control it, where you have a group as predators and you have a group as prey. Several times in conversations when I would say to people that there were aspects of prison that I missed, they automatically said institutionalized. It's beyond that. One thing about the prison culture that society probably doesn't know is that the older guys run it. I mean, in the sense of respect and moral integrity. I came home to a savage culture. One of the things that disappointed me most about coming home is how the majority of people kind of just let go of any moral fiber, any type of principle, anything that was taught. The average young person out here lacks respect for anybody.
This is very personal work for me.
Politics.
I believe I was called to tell my story, use my voice, be a voice for the community, to speak to and for a community of people that's been ignored, denied, overlooked.
Religion.
This is my life's work.
Religion.
I want to use words to uplift, heal, inspire, encourage.
Do something different. Every Monday at 10.
Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig, the writer Stewart, and this is So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. Today we are talking to three ex-offenders. Thank you for that. First, let's start with the amount of years you served and why.
How you doing? My name is William Watson.
All right, for full disclosure.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay.
I don't have really extensive record. I have 25 arrests, 5 convictions. I've done time in 3 different states, 5 children, 4 baby moms in 3 different states, 19 psych wards, 19 long-term treatment programs, and 19 halfway houses. So I've only been to prison once, but I've been in West Virginia Detention Center, Baltimore County, Harford County, 2 years there, Washington County, Cecil County, and by the grace of God, but I paid a lot of money because they want your money or they want your time, energy, and give you a record.
So why did you spend time, and what was the total amount of years?
I guess the total amount of years probably like 5 years maybe.
Okay. And it was you said for...
Only felony was robbery, 99. I got a conspiracy, distribution, and 05 they dropped it. I copped out to the conspiracy, which was a misdemeanor, carried just as much time, but they dropped the felony. I have 3 or 4 second degree assaults, theft, unauthorized use, stolen vehicles, kidnapping. I really was not particularly a drug dealer. I liked the street life and wherever money was, and I just liked the lifestyle.
And where are you from originally?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay. And where are you from originally?
New York.
Okay, and tell me, how long did you spend in prison, and was it your first offense?
No. I recently had a 32 sentence, did 21 years on it for attempt murder on a police officer and narcotics. Distribution, originally from New York, started off breaking law early, really was a thrill to the street, interested in making a name for myself. I did time in Rikers Island in minor jails, juvenile jails, a lot of police stations in New York. My major incarceration was in dealing with Maryland, which was a serious transition for me.
And so you said you spent 20 and a half?
21 years.
21 years. Okay. And lastly, my brother.
My last incarceration was for 23 years for a murder that occurred in Baltimore City, Park Heights and Woodland Avenue. I was involved with the drug trade, and because of my decision to get involved in the drug trade, I got caught up in a situation with a female who allegedly or reluctantly did something to her child. Since I was the one that transported the child to the hospital, the authorities assumed that I was the perpetrator. But when I went, as I was going to court, the state recognized the situation for what it was, because according to the time frame from the medical examiner, it showed that there was no way possible for me to have inflicted any, because the times didn't match up from the times that I was there. The state wanted me to testify against the young lady. I could not, because I did not know anything. I did not see anything because I was not there when it happened. Long story short, I was found guilty of second-degree murder, sentenced to 45 years, spent 23 years in prison.
Okay, so it's safe to say you're the only person that's claiming innocence, and the other two, you're saying that you did actually commit the crimes. Is that what
Absolutely.
I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so let me ask this about your background in terms of your parents. I believe there's a fine line between what a parent wants for their child and what a person wants for themselves. Would you say that you didn't have the support system from your family? Did you have a support system?
I would say that my support system was being young and not really understanding what family support is all about. Mm-hmm. It was there, but I really misunderstood it, because I looked for the most negative aspects of it, meaning that my mother was strong at one time and then she began to get high. Mm-hmm. So we gravitated to the streets. My father was in and out of our life. He was never really there installing the morals and principles that we needed. So that was another way we looked for role models, father figures, mother figures in the streets. Mm-hmm. And my thing, I believe, my opinion is, my loyalty to a lot of different things in the street was taken for granted, misled, mm-hmm. and just because how I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. So are you an only child?
No, I have 2 more brothers and a sister.
Okay, so are you the only person that's been to prison in terms of your siblings?
No, just me and my brother that's 1 year younger than me.
Is he currently serving?
Yes. My brother had life plus 25. He gave back that sentence, and he's did 16 years of that, which he'll be released this December.
What does that mean, he gave it back?
Appeal.
Okay.
Appeal process.
Okay. And so for you, same question. Did you have a support system? Like, was there a grandmother or your parents there to kind of support you?
Right. I think trauma perpetuates itself. I was fortunate. I had both my parents. My father was a youth supervisor with juvenile delinquents. I did hang out and grow up with him at the Hickey School and stuff like that. My mom was.
You said the Hickey School?
Yes, he worked at all of them.
Okay, so a Hickey School is like a
Hickey School, Boys Village. Those are my friends.
But those are like explain that for the
Juvenile
people. They're like
juvenile
juvenile institutions. Okay,
my mom was a nurse. You know, I was the only kid. I was spoiled. I mean, I got everything I wanted, but I was made to share. Mm-hmm. I was raised with morals and principles. What affected me was, now this is my story, and I share this because I want other people to get free. Uh-huh. I'm a survivor of sexual trauma.
Okay.
At 9 years old, I was molested.
Okay.
I didn't
By
tell
a family
him,
person? Family
no,
member?
outside
Okay.
the family,
Okay.
older guy.
Uh-huh.
I didn't tell nobody till 12 or 13. I told my cousin told her mother, which is my mother's sister. My mother got mad at me because I told family. She called, cussed him out, no help. So now my support system with my mom, where I went to get help, and then I had to tell my cousin, I ain't gonna tell nobody nothing. I made a promise nobody would ever come close to me to hurt me physically, mentally, or spiritually. So I'm dead, in on the inside, I'm feeling bad, low self-esteem, self-worth. I'm moving to the city, I see the street lights, I fit in, I loved it. I had anger and rage because of what happened to me before I got help, and I became a beast on the streets, and that's what happened to me. I have everything, but then also when we talk about environmental stuff, you could have the support in the family, But if I'm going to school and dudes is taking my lunch, if I don't defend myself, or everybody I know around me, or snatch pop, look at my tennis shoes, what size you got on, you learn to adapt. And I found it to be glorious.
Okay, and then for you, of course, you're my brother, so I know you grew up with 2 siblings, me and our sister. But share with them your experience in terms of your upbringing.
We all know that is true. I think I was here maybe 13, 14 years before your birth.
14, yeah.
For me, my parents were married when I was born. I think maybe around 5 or 6 years old, my father left. And he left after I had gotten attached to him. So it affected me greatly when he left. And so he would tell my mother that he was coming to get me and my sister. And I can remember my sister taking me out on the steps and us waiting for him to come. He never came. And this happened on several occasions. And looking back, I can remember, acting out because he was not there. And of course, I was grew up in the 70s, so words like abandonment, trauma, those words were not circulated in the household.
Right.
So my family didn't understand the behavior, but now I recognize it as me screaming out for my father's attention.
Right.
We moved up to my grandmother's house on Baltimore Street, and he started to come around. And when he came around, I noticed his attire. He kept a car, and so shortly after that, he began to expose me to his lifestyle. I had an aunt,
Which was?
a drug dealer.
Okay.
I had an aunt who, at the time, was engaged to one of the biggest drug dealers in the city.
Was it on our side or your
No, on
father's
my
side?
father's
Oh,
side.
okay.
And,
I needed to know who that was.
He would often take me up there, and again, I would see bags of money, tables full of money, and bags full of product. At the time, I didn't know it. As I got older, these visits with my father and his friends continued. I think around maybe 11 or 12, I recognized what that was,
Right.
and even though our visits were infrequent, like when he did come, he would show me those things. And so in my mind, I said, well, if I do what he's doing, maybe that'll bring us closer together.
Right.
And so my again, talking about trauma and abandonment, and and me believing that if I transform into this person, I can have a better relationship with my father.
That acceptance, yeah.
Right.
So I remember you were telling me before, when you made the decision that you were going to hustle or sell drugs, you said to him, you told him, and he said, if this is what you're going to do, you got to be sure that that's what you're going to do. And he said something like, you got to be honest. And do you remember that?
Right. Right, exactly. Well, again, when he saw that I made the decision to live like that, or I'm not gonna say sat down because I don't remember exactly where we were, but we had the conversation about how you live in the streets, what you do and what you do not do.
Right.
So I believe negatively or positively, I got some great information, and let me add that probably was the only information that I received from him in my life.
Right.
That being the basis of me making that decision, because like what I believe today is the things that I did were based on the information that I received and the nonverbal information from
Right,
him.
just
that
watching his demonstration.
This was the way to live.
Yeah.
And from the family, because again, my understanding is we are given what is had, and so a lot of bad information. And when I say bad, I don't mean unhealthy. Bad according to the way they received it. So I believe that information, coupled with the information that I saw from him, and then with the information that I saw when I went out into the street, is the basis for the decisions that I made in my life.
Okay, so let's move into the prison. Because the purpose of this conversation is to talk about prison culture, but also transitioning once you come home, right? Okay, so tell the story about how the two of you met, because there is gang activity in prisons, correct? Okay, so is it fair to say or safe to say that you two were a part of rival gangs? lean into the mic, please.
I can say that he and I met because of an altercation that had taken place with some friends of mine and some friends of his. And the meeting took place because I was close to one of his friends.
Okay.
And I was able to resolve the situation.
So is that how you remember the story? Because were you put into the same cell at some point?
No, well, actually, we were on lockup,
Right.
and I had sent somebody my photo album, and he saw my cousin's picture in it, and he sent me another. I'm like, who the fuck is this?
So pick up the story.
Well, again, you know,
So how long were you in at this point when you met my brother?
a little bit over 10 years.
And you, how long were you in? Do you remember?
Was that about like 2005? So
Yeah.
probably like 16 years.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, an altercation happened in the jail. Mostly, you know, they separate either admit or put you on administration or lockup. Admin means they just put you in the cell until investigation goes on.
Okay.
So they try not to put people that's on two different opposite sides of the team.
In terms of opposite gang?
I mean, opposite affiliations, gangs, or who you associate yourself with. But
So
yes,
the
I
staff,
was.
So the staff is well aware that they're
Yeah, see,
opposing sides.
In jail, you're classified by the people you hang with. Rather, if I'm hanging with 10 New York boys, we are a New York clique. If I'm hanging with majority of my friends are Bloods, then I'm a Blood. But I'm not going to deny or disagree or say that, yeah, I am. That was who I'll be. I was a
Okay.
Blood. So at the time, I was a little high up.
Okay.
You know, I mean as far as I can make a call or don't make a call. And they had me on lockup. And I didn't know I'm my wife now. Family was as deep as it was in the jail. And somebody told me, I seen his photo album. We was on lockup together, and I seen the girl Danielle.
Okay.
I didn't know that was his family. He didn't tell me that, you know, that was a relative at the time of the moment. And I told him, I was like, you know what I mean? Oh, let me get this picture. I mean, it's very rare that we share photo albums or books
With
on
other-
lockup.
with other people.
Oh, yeah, because people, you
Especially
know,
on lockup.
psychologically, people degrade your pictures. We got you don't know how jail is, but jail is, we could look at a picture for one time and carry it a lifetime and even have fantasies about it. Whether it's a
Right.
child, a mother, a grandmother, whoever. That's how it goes. So I'll try to get that picture. And then from him telling me Danielle's his family, we conversed. And from there, we became cool. It was never like a misunderstanding. So this is how I can remember it, is when he talked to me and gave me his word on certain things that it would be the way it was supposed to be.
In terms of moving about, navigating inside?
Moving about, keeping the peace, not letting something happen, not, you know what I mean, you tell him something, or he might not know Dollar the way I know him, and I could be like, okay, and it was, what he said was law,
Right.
it was respected, and everything was good.
So Dollar, for those listening, is actually my brother's street
Oh yeah,
name.
I mean,
Go ahead, I got
my
you.
fault. I
Keep
just ain't
going.
used to
No,
call
keep
him
going.
Jimmy.
I understand,
Yeah.
I understand. Keep
So
going.
yeah, so it was like that. And the thing about it, the funny thing I can recall is after coming off a lockup, and you know he go through his travels and go wherever he been in all the jails, and I done heard the stories, you know, certain things about Dollar, and you know I look at him like, oh, what's up with Danielle, the family, blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? But it was like me asking about him. A lot of dudes that was really close to him was looking at me like, yo, you know him? Yo, what you know what I'm saying? It was
Right.
times I went in the building to go see him, or no, he wasn't there or nothing, and it was like, it was a hostile feeling. And my friends was like, what's going on? Is it, you know, I said, I'm telling them, like, they telling me not to go there,
And
not to
this
talk.
hostility because of what?
Because we're like, you know what I'm saying? He hanging with a different group of people.
Okay.
And I'm dealing with a different
And
group
so
of
they
people.
just trying to figure out why you're coming to see about him.
Yeah,
When
because
in actuality, you were really coming to...
well, in prison it's not like the feds where they deal with race. In
Right.
prison, I could say that they're more racial with the groups that you hang with.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
If we're not moving together as a unity of one, then stick with your group and don't be so cozy with the other group, because then somebody feel like, yo, you telling them something, it's a leak, it's
Okay,
a loose.
it's a leak.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
me being who I be, it was like kind of like they respected it, but everybody, they couldn't question me about it and wonder why I am so close to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They can't ask him or they can't ask me and be like, yo, where you know Lucky from and all this stuff. I don't know what he might have said to his friends or people he knew, but I know when it's dealing with me, I was like, yo, that's my man. And that was, it was left at that.
So let me ask you this, because you touched on something earlier, and it reminded me of the Khalif Browder story. Have you heard about the Khalif Browder story?
Yes.
He's from New York. There were instances where he was actually set up by some of the guards. Like if he gave too much mouth to one of the guards, he would have one of the gang members or gangs beat him. So had you experienced or heard of anything
I'm
like
going to
that?
tell you, when I first started my bid in 92, I was more in my New York state of mind, meaning that I did 18 months on Rikers Island. Nothing or no one can faze me. I never seen prison, you know what I mean? I seen the stories, but it was almost like a badge of honor surviving Rikers Island for 18 months and coming home no cuts and reputation for myself. So people respected that. So when I went to city jail
In Baltimore.
in Baltimore City, and when I went to city jail in 92, I didn't, I experienced a whole nother culture, adult culture. I was used to dealing with juveniles, young, wild, and just doing crazy stuff. I wasn't used to, or more or less, the adults is more organized. And when it goes down, they play for keeps. I wasn't used to that, seeing real knives with the compasses on it. People tricking you mentally for sexual favors and stuff like that. COs wanting to give you sex, and I'm not even seeing the signs of it. It was a friend of mine's, well, after a time in the jail, and I was thirsty, wanted to be a part of the IT crowd. And this is before...
A correctional officer?
Yeah. No, a friend from the streets.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He's dead now, but he was a serious dude in Lafayette Projects. And I knew him through another New York dude that was taking care, hitting him up. And he told me, the girl got something. You never been burnt before? I said, nah, I never been burnt. But he said, it's just going to pee. It's going to hurt for a little while, but you're going to be all right. And that actually made me think, like, yeah, I can take it because I'm going to be in prison. I'm on a section where everybody got life plus 50. I'm going to get ahead. I was really contemplating and doing that. And it's so
Because
crazy.
they weren't giving out condoms then?
No, you ain't even supposed to have sex in prison.
Right, correct.
You know what I mean? It ain't even, it's almost granted this myth or mysterious law about you even touching yourself, you can actually get a ticket for it or be placed on lockup.
So you're not even supposed to masturbate?
Yeah, basically. But what I'm saying is, all these temptations, I wasn't ready for that. Like, being off at this, dealing with people, like, I walk past the cells and see people, two men, engage in the act, and I'm not, you know what I mean? That ain't my world, but I'm like, I'm not knowing to keep my head straight and not look, and people like, what the fuck you doing, shorty? What you looking? Get over here.
Right.
And I'm
Because
like,
you mentioned that. You mentioned...
and I felt disrespected. Like, I wanted to do something, but it was another dude, a Muslim dude, Talib. He kind of like took me under the wing and told me. He kept trying to school me, and I just couldn't see it because...
In other words, that you wanted to fight because somebody
it was like
"What
the
you
rage.
looking at?"
I wanted to build this reputation, like, they're gonna respect me in here. I wasn't taking his knowledge, you know what I mean? Like, I looked at it like, I've been son on the street. A dude left me for dead in jail. You know what I mean? My loyalty, I'm not nobody's son. Nah, you ain't gonna tell me what to do. Yo, mind your business. Don't go here. Don't do that. The New York kids come on this tier. Don't be clicking up until you know if they a snitch or this and that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I learned the hard way. And everything I did learn in prison, I can say I learned the hard way. Is nothing that was like, don't do that, don't go over there because what's going on over there. I went over there and now I'm stuck in the middle of it. You know what I'm saying? I never really volunteered for trouble, but it seems like it just so much gravitated to me. And when it came, I loved it. I thrived off it. I lived like a wolf. I just...
So how common is same-sex activity, same-sex sex in prison? I know you said at one point, like in the line, like if you're on the way to the cafeteria, you've seen guys get snatched out of the line into a cell and getting raped.
Few occasions. First time I was incarcerated, rape was like an everyday thing. And even into my second incarceration, I think maybe in like the mid 90s, it kind of, because a lot of gay guys were coming into the prison system, so it was no longer necessary for somebody. But you had a couple of guys who were just prone to that type of violence. So even with the interest of a lot of homosexuals into the system, some guys were just mentally disturbed, where they just kept molesting over and over again. But yeah, it definitely was a everyday occurrence. But you know, like like I said in the previous conversation, opposite of what Lucky just said, the very first time I went in, I was instructed on what to do, what not to do. Keep your head when you walk and keep straight. Don't
look in the
right,
cells.
and I was receptive to it. Right, because again, even though I spent some time in some juvenile institutions and over the city jail a few times, this was a whole different experience. It was a whole different experience. So I had to get some more information and some other lessons that I didn't get or was not really necessary in the other places that I had been.
So would you say if a heterosexual man goes into prison and he has activity, whether it's just oral sex or whatever, does that make him gay once he comes out?
Absolutely.
What you say?
No.
What you say?
No, I wouldn't say so.
I agree. I don't think so because I just think that. Go ahead. What?
I want to say this. I know people in prison, like a friend of mine, from a personal experience. Everything in mine is first on hands-on. We hung out on the streets. I mean, I watched this man interact with females and do things. I don't know his childhood life.
Right.
Some people say a trauma in his life and might have led him to that. But when I got to city jail, I didn't see it coming, but things about him was changing.
Right.
And he didn't even have a lot of time. He wasn't even facing a lot of time. He started wearing his jeans tighter and things like that. But I'm still not paying no mind, smoking cigarettes behind him and all that. Now, in my mind, I never, even went to school, I had family members that was homosexuals or we say gay with respect, but I had a phobia about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you was gay, I couldn't stand next to you, or they're gonna think I'm, you know what I mean? No, don't drink out my can. Oh my goodness, you know what I'm saying? So I'm that's in me. I'm already got this shell.
Right.
And when my friend was walking with another guy and holding his hand and doing things like that, again, somebody tried to school me. You don't walk up into get into jailhouse relationships or whatever, or come into that. And what I didn't realize, you know, I see my friend there. I'm like, yo, what you doing? I'm mad at him.
Right.
Like I want to beat him up because now I'm feeling like you played me out. You deceived me.
Right.
Now I might got something. I don't know what you did. Now they gonna think.
Right.
And he turned to me in a female voice and said, "What you get away from me and all that."
Right.
And somebody pulling me back, and the guy that's the man in the relationship, like, thinking I'm pulling up on this woman,
Right.
like it's gotten in a couple dispute, and everybody's looking like, what's going on? But the dude is pulling me back. Like, yo, don't ever, in prison, we don't do that. If it ain't none of your business, stay out of it, because people literally have died, got cut, and so I didn't see that. And so every time I seen him, or I seen him doing this certain things, it just was bugging me out. And I remember calling my father, and I had to ask my father, because it was like, I don't know, like the people that had the most time in, a lot of DC guys, Baltimore, people from all over, they wasn't even shunned upon when they did that. I'm like, yo, you just went inside with another, and he was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, I had to take care of something, shorty, you know what I mean? But, and then come back and want to play cards to me like he's a gangster, like he cool, and I'm looking at him like, yo, how, you, I really want to be like, I'm playing pinochle, and be like, yo, did you, you know, got your joint something off? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You did you? And he'd be like, what's wrong? You know what I mean? Gay, what you want to ask? I'd be like, yo, did you fuck him in the butt? Right. He'd be like, yo, come on, don't be asking me no question, man. What you do with your girl, I do with my girl. Right. So, yeah, so
but
I
he
left
referred
it
to him
as a girl. Like, and it took me a minute, so I was like, damn, I ain't going, that ain't my friend.
Right.
But I don't want to speed the story up any further, but I'm going to get straight to the point.
This podcast was brought to you by So Much to Say, a book of quotes, available now at Amazon.com and CraigTheWriterStewart.com, also on all e-readers. If you're enjoying this podcast, please be sure to subscribe on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube.
I was in Roxbury. I've been to every jail in Maryland, Camp Sisters and all, after I built this reputation for myself. And another organization was about to bring me a move, because I was selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? I had a good dope. I was doing my thing, and we go to breakfast 4 o'clock in the morning. Most of the times, when the hits happen, they'll send a missile at you. A missile is like a hit, or somebody that hit you with a lock, or get me before all my friends is around. Basically, attack me. The jail is on lockdown, and before anybody can really find out what's going on, I'm already transferred out to jail. So they can either go to war, but most of the time, if you take the leader out or whatever, you could just yo, we're gonna squash that. We gotta get money in there. So you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what most people. That's how it happens in Maryland. And I was on my way to breakfast. I ate my breakfast, everything. Everybody shaking me in my hand, and I, how they say power corrupts. I felt like I was untouchable. Everybody know I'm a part of whatever. My team gonna ride for me. My friends gonna hold it down. And they had the lockout. People had the knives out, and it was a faggot. I'm not saying like that. A gay person. Paul Kites, Dominic, and he said to me like, "Hey," I'm looking at him. He said in his girl voice, "Hey, Lucky," and I'm like, "What the? Yo, you know what I'm saying? Is yo, what's up? I'm mad at him. Like, how I feel
Right,
about
like,
gay
don't
people.
talk to me
So I'm
and
like,
that, yeah.
whenever somebody gay talking to me, I'm always like, "Yo, what's up? What's up, man? What's going on, B? What you gotta talk to me about?"
Right.
He was like, they trying to bring you a move right now.
So
And
he was looking out for you.
He looked out for me. That when I looked up.
Right.
I felt like so gangster, like I was in this bubble, like I couldn't be touched. That when I looked up, I didn't even realize they was formed up, and I was on my way out that door.
And he was
like hit my head. He was almost literally by my side, saying, "It ain't going down like that. If it's going down," and he had his knife, and he's like, "I got your back, Lucky." You know what I'm saying? In prison, we learn to adapt. We put on many faces, many shades. So I don't care what people thought if I was messing with this faggot or not. I took
This gay
him.
guy.
Again,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to say it like that.
No,
but
go
that's
ahead.
my
I got
slang.
you. Keep going.
But I don't care what people was thinking at the moment.
Right.
My mask is on. This is my friend. If he's riding with me, I'm riding with
So
him.
is that how you became less homophobic because of that?
Less. I didn't. Nobody wanted to play basketball with this dude. After he did that, and we backed him down, and I got back on a tier. We resolved this issue. It almost was a little situation, but the issue got resolved, and now I knew to be more on point. But I didn't see all this coming, that they was coming after me, and this gay guy put me on point with the whole operation, like how they was moving and everything, and I was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? That he really put himself on the line because by jail standards and our codes that we live by, I can't ride for you. I can't have nobody protect him or nothing like that, or it would take from me.
Because he's gay.
Because he's gay. Because the people that I associate myself, the Bloods, we can't do that. We don't have no gay blood organizations. You understand what I'm saying? We don't do that. So it's like either you with that or you not. I can't even be sitting there catching myself affiliated or just sitting in a cell with somebody that was gay or just sharing a cigarette with somebody gay. It was a violation. There's so many rules that I would have to, you know what I'm saying, justify that. But when I showed dudes and explained to them how, why, and how it went down, and I had to call my...
That was the exception.
It wasn't even no exception. I didn't even look for it to be accepted.
Right.
I looked for it to be respected. And when I told people he's going harder than most of y'all, and they didn't understand it, and I showed them, and he showed them himself, because we'd be playing cards, and he'd be like, "Lucky, hold it down. That white boy going in. He know I've been looking for him." And I was like, "What the? Oh, you did, boy." And he go in there, and them white boys be scared, and he was a prey. He was a predator. You know what I'm saying?
Because you said, Jimmy, that there's a structure. It's either predator or prey, and you're saying he was a predator.
He's a predator. But in the sense of when I say predator, he wasn't even actually going after so much guys that was weak.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He went after his thrill was a person that was scared of prison, needed a little commissary and TV, and he was aggressive with him. You gonna get in the cell, I'm gonna get you a TV, but you know what it is. And anybody that went in that cell with him,
in other words, he expected a sexual favor.
Or either one. You can either take what he offered you, or he was getting you. In his preference, like he said, he liked light-skinned women, light-skinned men, or white. You know what I'm saying? White guys. And I was like, this guy was like, and it got worse though, because I didn't realize that this was just one, this is, a little further in my prison state, but this is just one experience that I had to even call my father and ask him, because they had another guy in there. I mean, like, I done witnessed so much, I'm not an ugly guy. And the gift and the curse of looking young and most people got a rough demeanor in prison.
Right.
Grow their hair, cut, got a, you know what I'm saying, deeper voice. Now, I'm light-skinned, young, good hair. You know what I'm saying, trying to keep my appearance up, looking good. And quote-unquote, looking good in prison or keeping yourself is kind of dangerous, because you get unwanted attention.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because, you're in a prison.
So I done had a lot of homosexual, gay people,
Try
or people
you.
that was on the down low, they wouldn't try me straight up because some people can sense
Right.
if a person is that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the only time that I almost didn't really see it is, again, I mean, I don't want to keep saying names, but we all know this dude, and this dude done got stabbed in the face, hot water thrown on him. He doesn't care. You can bite him, you can put him to sleep. If you don't kill this man, he's going in you. One way or the other,
Right.
he's going in you. And I didn't know that this guy was praying. He was stalking.
Right.
Like he was watching my every move.
Right.
And it took another dude, a serious dude in prison. After I built this reputation for myself, it was a lot of serious that I was sitting down conversing with, and they told me that he was coming. So he's either like I had to get my knife and go at him to that point, but I didn't even have to do it because it was like he seen who I associated myself with. Meaning, for example, Dollar. If certain people see me talk to Dollar in a different jail, the level of respect changes because they be like, "Oh, how
But
you
why
doing
were you
him?"
so untouchable in prison? Like, what's that about? He's trying to be
No,
modest.
I don't want to. I don't want to use the word untouchable. Like Lucky just said. Because our associations are different. The way they came up was different, and so almost immediately when I started associating with my friends, like I was elevated to a higher position, and
Well, let me say this because it's not just same-sex relationships that happen in it. We kind of briefly touched on it. There are female correctional officers who engage in relationships with prisoners. Share the story that you told me about how the women will quote-unquote prey on certain men, and what they'll do is they'll check on his records before they actually make the move to make sure he doesn't have any diseases or that he hasn't been locked up for rape or pedophilia or anything like that.
Right. It's again the prison culture. Of course, because it's prison, so there are a lot of differences, but a lot more similarities in prison as in the street.
So prison is basically a microcosm.
Right, it's a microcosm because if a woman is attracted to a guy out here, she'll observe him, whatever she has to do to find out as much as she can find out about him until she's satisfied. And it's the same there. The difference is that you have to move with a lot more discretion. Obviously, because it's rules and it's regulations that govern the institution.
So there was a situation with you when you were actually locked up like 30 minutes from Baltimore in Jessup, but you had a relationship with a female correctional officer, and they punished you by moving you 4 hours away to the Eastern Shore, and they just transferred her to a different facility.
Right.
Because this girl was calling our house, talking to mommy.
Right.
And talking about leaving her husband for you. What were you doing to this girl in jail?
Well, the same thing they do out here. What do you want me to say? Having relations.
Go ahead. So,
But all right, just to get on that, I learned two different things. Like now I'm in the real world, so I learned a lot. Dealing with a female in prison, they get the attention that they don't get on the street.
because you have nowhere to go.
Yes, and they feel so comfortable because they know that you ain't have nobody, you can't mess with nobody,
Where
and they
you
can
are
keep
all
so much
day.
tabs on you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you gotta make them feel, you gotta put them on a certain pedestal. And the females are just like the female guards in prison, which, they call themselves sisters. When you know that certain female deal with another inmate in prison, they stick together in the pack.
The
You know
women
what I mean?
that work together.
The women that work together in prison, 9 times out of 10, they associate themselves together. The women that don't mess with the women that don't mess with outside people in prison, they try to shun away from that because then it's a chance of it being let out, people knowing.
Right.
And them women in prison, they go for power, reputation, things you can do for them.
So they gravitate to the gang leaders or
gang leaders,
right.
or I'm gonna say not
Not
necessarily
even necessarily
gangs,
gang.
But just the ones that
whoever they see is a strong
individual.
Right.
Meaning that say you selling drugs in prison,
Right.
and you're getting some money. They
Right.
like that because you
Right.
can help with their bills. Say that you just a person that can stop peace and tell a brother, you ain't even gotta be affiliated. Yo, don't do that again. They
Right.
like that.
Right.
Or some dudes that just go hard, just want to stab people and act crazy, and everybody's scared of them. They like that. Just like on the streets, a woman likes a person with a fancy car. A woman wants a man's man at times, want
Right.
to be manhandled, not want to be beaten, abused. They
Right.
just want that aggressive structure, like in
Right.
the jungle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Dominant.
So let me ask this. So there were instances where you said that sometimes they're arguing with each other over the same guy out in the parking lot.
I had personal experience with that. Again, like it's almost impossible in a situation like that that's full of men and you have women that work there.
But the women are in the minority, right?
Right, and it's almost humanly impossible for a woman not to be attracted to somebody.
Right.
Like he just said, there are some live to a certain standard.
And so they're not dealing with
don't
that.
at all.
Right.
All right, and then there are those, for lack of a better word, I'm going to use the word hood women who, because like he said, even though they have the job, they still have situations
Right.
at home.
Right.
And so again, like he said, they'll see a guy, who can make certain things happen, and, they'll think help.
So these women are basically taking care of you in terms of like your meals. And
There's other perks that
go ahead.
that
What were you
come
saying
with
about that, Lucky?
Let me say this. I personally experienced females that would change their shift just to be around with another man. I had a
So wait. Why
Meaning that
would she need to change her shift?
Because
if he ain't going away, why she got to change her
because
shift?
it's more being
Where
that-
it's less
less
eyes on-
security
right? Yeah.
and quiet, and they can control their environment. You don't really want to. Most of the time, things don't go down on the day shift because they can't control the environment. Too much going
Too
on.
much
School,
activity.
medical, and all that.
Right,
So
too many
most
people
times you
moving.
want to really act crazy when you can lock people in
Right.
and do that.
The
so
later shift.
yeah, so I was in the Jessup jail, and it was crazy because before the shift start, there are COs would I used to clean up, and everybody would have a meeting, all the COs, everybody, and they would put this thing on the board. We had it where the captain was in the association of ours. You know what I mean? She was rolling with us
Right.
at the time, and
She was one of the women that would date
basically,
one of you.
No, she
Nah,
was one
she-
of his friends.
She was one of your friends.
Yeah, basically she was an affiliated. You know what I mean? Meaning that she was affiliated. If she wanted to mess with one of us, nobody would say she couldn't, but she was rolling with us. She gave us the blueprint on how the shift starts, who they going after in the morning. Say they had Keith and Smith early in the morning. Keith and Smith is under investigation
Okay.
for having sexual activity in the jail with the female officers. And one of the female officers might be in there. So they all listen, like, oh, I'm changing the shift. They hot in here. They telling this and that. And the captain, she would tell us or put us on point with certain things was going on. And my friend would tell me, look, I'm going to get you out the cell. I got her bringing me in a bottle of, I didn't even know what it was, Hypnotic at the time.
When Hypnotic first came out.
Incredible Hulk. I didn't know what none of this stuff was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, I'm just happy. Oh, man, we going to get it in. He said, you can drink. I'm going to get you want some cigarettes or something? I'm going to get you. I need you to watch what's going on while I take care of my business.
Meaning
And I-
have sex with her.
Yeah, and the things was coming in that I didn't even understand how she was even getting it in there.
Right,
but
right.
But that wasn't. At the time, I wasn't allowed to ask these questions on how and who and what. I was just playing my position. Either I was the lookout until I moved further along.
Right.
But these COs, I watched them. They're even in a situation right now to this day, forgive me for saying this, but she had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
there was somebody that was arrested
And
here not long ago because
But this got so point that she became a part of family. To this day, I'm still in contact with her, and you know what I mean. I got so much respect and love for the kid in the situation because, as the kid was growing up and she was pregnant, she couldn't say who the baby father was. She couldn't go to child protective service because of the whole situation.
we're not child protective services, but child support.
She couldn't do none of that because of who she was dealing with, and this man was such a high figure that he was giving her paying money for a car, rent.
Because he was selling drugs in prison, so he had the money.
He can do that at will and at will's limit, and he didn't want to deal with her no more. Being that when we deal with these females in prison, we not really trying. It's like a 20% chance that we really going home to have a relationship
With
you.
her, yeah.
And it's an 80% chance because we not really looking for that.
You just trying to have somebody to buy your time with.
That's
Absolutely.
it.
Is that the truth when you have a relationship with a woman outside of the prison? And I don't mean one that
Nah.
you.
I'm gonna keep it real. In so much sense that it was hard for me to relate from the jail life of living to the real world of living. Meaning that in jail, the blueprint is we don't associate ourselves with nobody that can't help you. Idle conversation, all that. We say that for lockup. Well, we ain't got nothing to do and tell a war story.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's like when I came home on the streets, the first thing that you think of is like who can help me and who not. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm not looking for who I can help.
Right.
The con game is so hard that
You can't separate yourself once you come
it
out.
takes a minute for to separate yourself because you're in that mode.
So you said the guys who have relationships with female correctional officers oftentimes are not going to have relationships with them once they come out.
No.
Is that the same for women that they may have relationships with outside of the prison?
Nine times out of 10.
And I don't mean women that they were in relationships with once they went in. I mean
develop.
right.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 they don't.
Let me tell you this.
Maybe 8 times out of 10.
Because isn't it possible to be like on the internet and stuff in prison?
Nah, you can.
It's not safe.
It's not safe, but,
No, but it's,
right.
Let me tell you
yeah.
something. It was different things that you could write, different like church groups and things like this that we can write and meet women and all
somebody,
that.
right.
But let me tell you, men, you know what I mean, the people that know how to do a bid, we psychologically don't want to really get emotionally attached to nothing that can
Right.
stop us from really focusing on doing our bid.
Right.
You know what I mean? That ain't with it. So it's just like actually playing basketball, writing a woman this letter.
Right.
I have wrote letters for dudes and just love writing it. Like
You
I
writing
hope-
it for them.
I hope this meat reaches you at the right moment. It's a lot of thoughts on my mind I can't explain, and I'm really going into it. And I say I'm gonna save this one. I can sell this for a pack of cigarettes.
So you selling it.
And yeah, and I'm actually selling hard thought words
Right.
that a woman will read, and the response would be so tremendous that he'd
Right.
be like, yo, she wrote me back, she said this, and it was like. We'll counsel each other, show each other letters. If Dollar had a better handwriting than mine, I asked him to write this. It's things like that.
Right. But there was an exchange, like you pay him to do that.
Of course, it was
Right.
like it wasn't in prison. It's no. Well, I don't know how it is now, but at that time, it wasn't no just ask a person to do something.
Right.
Now,
There was
it
some sort of
yeah.
exchange, yeah.
You ain't even have
Like a
to
barter
say.
system.
Yeah,
A
you ain't
barter
have-
system,
You
yeah.
ain't, we ain't even have to say that. If I say, yo, Dollar, let me hold a pack of cigarettes, so I'm trying to make a move. I hadn't got to even tell him I'm gonna give it back or
Right.
interested. It was already
Understood.
It's an unwritten rule.
Yeah,
Right.
so we already knew what it is.
So is it true that the lifers, the men who have life sentences, have the most relationships?
That's hard. It's hard to say.
Hard to say?
It's hard to
Because
say.
I think a lot of times women gravitate. Is it true that
and
the
they
women
do. They
gravitate
do
to the men?
because
They
she
ain't
know
going nowhere.
He ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Nah, but to me,
And 9 times out of 10, he's probably only going to be dealing with her.
Right.
yeah, I would say that it's her prerogative. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that if that's what she want to do, because some women really don't trust the lifers because they've been down too long and they got, you know what I mean, they got bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
Some females want the men that they know going on. One of my friends was messing with a dentist in there. We had one of my friends was messing with a captain. One of my friends messing with regular COs. One of my friends was messing with the traffic officer that if our names popped up from DOC, we were so good that we can get put in a certain jail and knew how to
Because
get them.
prison life in certain
because
facilities
it
is
changed.
better.
So certain COs or whatever, I don't even look at their positions no more. I stopped doing that once I elevated to a certain level in prison. I just looked at it like, what's that? That's Miss Smith working? I don't look at Captain Smith or CO2 or none of that. I look like, yo, she know I don't want to lock up and cute girls come on lock up, think they can handle it, get some shit thrown in their face, and now they quit. You know what I mean? They
Literally getting feces thrown in their face.
like our job is to weed out the weak from the strong, the snitches from the ones that don't snitch.
Because you want a certain CO down there with you.
Yeah.
Got
And
it.
they
it
knew
makes
that.
it comfortable.
It makes
Yeah,
it comfortable.
But it makes, first of all, prison, whether you want to get high, have sex, run wild, act crazy, you know what I mean? You want it to be in a comfortable environment. You
Right.
don't want no CO or nobody's
That's gonna
constantly
make it
on your
different.
back.
Right.
I want to be able to sit here and play cards, smoke my cigarette, maybe light up some weed, and we making drinks and maybe drinking the real thing.
Okay, so obviously in some instances, you kind of touched on this a moment ago. You said, I don't know how some of this stuff was coming in here. Obviously, if these women were that dick whipped, I don't know how else to say it.
But it's really not even that so much. It's kind of like certain things that take place. It's like an unwritten code, and then you have some women like without loyalty to the street. You have some women that are just loyal to who they perceive as a good dude, just helping them. A lot of times it don't even have to do nothing to do with a relationship.
Right.
Period.
Okay.
Just he a good dude, or he might be from my hood or whatever, or just like he just a good dude. And I'm
so
gonna
you
look out
said
for
you
him.
knew that there were instances. I mean, you said that there was like a month that you didn't even have to eat in the cafeteria.
I mean, it was longer than that, but yeah, like, cause like at ECI, like I had a 2-year relationship, and so for the entire 2 years, like, and then I was working in the kitchen, which made it easier because I'm moving around, I'm doing what I need to do in there,
Right.
and then I'm doing what I'm doing.
Selling
You know
drugs.
what I'm saying, right? And so like that was a convenience. You know, so like
So sometimes the women would bring the food in for you, so you didn't even have to.
yeah, quite
eat.
often. you know.
Okay, so in terms of moving things around, let's get into that. In terms of like the drug trade. So back then, there was a time where we had Polaroid pictures where at the bottom of the picture was that white frame. And so explain how people transported the drugs that way.
Like you communicated through a letter to your family. You would send like how many other pictures you felt you need. Like let's say I send 4 pictures home, and I say, look, I need you to take a razor blade and cut a fine line at the bottom of this and put that in there. You know,
Seal it back up.
mash, make sure it's leveled out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, crazy glue it, whatever you gotta do, and send the pictures back to me.
Okay.
But what happened was on a few occasions, people try to put too much in them.
Right.
And so what happened was they come in and it's leaking.
Right.
And so that kills that operation.
And then also the advent of photos that weren't Polaroid, where you know take them out right out of the camera and shake them, because they didn't have that anymore in the pictures anymore.
Right.
So then that took it
Right.
out. So then how did you transport from that point?
Well, from that point, we went to the greeting cards, because you know a lot of cards are open 3 ways.
Trifold cards.
Trifold, but then the last page is glued shut. Sometimes we use the ones where the music
The
or
music
whatever.
is in it.
And so again, like, and then a lot of times there were cards that were made there, because a lot of cards made there.
A lot
look
of
like
prisoners
store-bought.
make cards.
Right,
Yeah.
and so we again send them home and tell them, you know, to lift this up, do what you gotta do, crazy glue it.
Send it back.
And again, you know, sometimes people probably howl when they doing it or rushing.
So it was sloppy.
Right, and so, you know, it broke down, and you know that.
And then is that probably at the point where people started ingesting, like swallowing it, like in a bag, like putting it in a bag?
People were always ingesting. This was just a more convenient way, and this way, like, you don't have to go in the visitor room.
Right.
Nobody knows you're going to get it.
Right.
You know, because it's
Because they're mailing it straight to you.
right,
But-
right.
But again, to relate on some of what he said about, you know, over the years, ways of sneaking things in have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
food
progressed.
package and all that, it got slicker. Sometimes it gets caught, and then it gets slicker, it gets caught. So I can recall, which, you know, they don't use this no more, but, you know, we used to order the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And I can literally tell my mother what new cartoon is out. And if I say what new cartoon is out, she knew to put it in the cartoon section of the newspaper.
You would say that over the phone. when
I
you
can
talk
say,
to them.
like right now, I'll be like,
Because it's innocent.
right
Right.
now I'll be like, Craig, what cartoons the kids watching?
Right.
And you be like, oh, they watching Scooby-Doo or Charlie Brown and all that. I knew to go
To
to
the
get
Charlie,
the New York
yeah.
paper, big bubble envelope, and just put all this. Ain't no officer gonna go through every piece of paper in that newspaper like that. They would go like this, sniffing all that. Put, you know what I mean? Get the plastic saran wrap, get the pepper, grind the weed up in the pepper, put it right there.
What's the purpose of the pepper?
Because, you know, the weed is fluffy. So I want to grind it down. As long as the weed is good, it's going to sell. Nobody's getting weed. I can give you a pinch and still make double and triple my profit.
Right.
So they would take the pepper, grind it, one of the pepper shakers, and grind the weed up, put it in a newspaper, get the saran wrap, tape it flat, put another piece of paper together, and Wilson Mel, I get my newspaper. I can sit there and read it in front of the police like it ain't nothing.
Right.
And then when my time is right, dump it. There might be 2 ounces in there.
Right. So you had that luxury because you had that kind of a relationship with your mom. And Gladys wasn't going for that.
I'm glad this ain't.
No, but I didn't. This is what I wanted to say. First of all, I didn't have a lot. I had some family support while I was in prison.
Right.
I didn't have, like, the things I'm telling you, I was doing that with friends, getting it in on friends.
Right.
I done went months, years, 2 years without getting a letter from home, no money, none of that.
Well, let me ask this. Were there instances where perhaps like a friend or a relative or somebody was sending you the drugs in either through like a picture and let's say it leaked? Do they then go after the person that sent it to you?
Well, no, what happens is that I'm not gonna put my name on it, so there's no return.
Oh, so if I'm sending it to you in prison, I'm not putting
So
my
what they
return
would do is they would put me on administrative investigation, investigate it.
Got it.
And he'll be off.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
so
I got a rap buddy that died that way. His girlfriend was getting high, and she put it in a balloon. And of course, she tried to dip in the balloon before the visit, and I guess she didn't tie it kind of proper. And this is in the annex, and
she ingested it.
she had it wherever, her mouth, coochie, whatever. But he ingested, he swallowed it, but it wasn't tied right. And you got to do a lot of different things because your stomach acid does different things to it, and depends how strong or how cut that dope is.
Right.
And people just thought he was high because he probably sniffed a little bit, and he died in that cell
Because it wasn't secure when she.
Yeah. So in the process of her, I can't say pinpoint that she did it,
Right.
but she brought that to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I don't know how it happened, but I know that balloon busted in the stomach. And by the time the police took count and realized what's going on, he's dead. It's no reviving him or nothing. His cell buddy went on admit for a while. The body they tape it up. Fake investigation going on. They know that it's a regular, just like in the streets when you get caught with drugs on you. Same thing happens in prison. I done watched the CO run while another inmate's being stabbed. You know what I'm saying?
Run the
Because
other way.
Yes, that's not none of her business.
Yeah, and then she don't want to.
She don't want to get caught in that situation because if it gets down to it and the hit is that serious, everybody has to go.
And why he right
In terms
there?
of the employees, gotta go.
If I was a CO escorting somebody
And it happened on their watch.
and I send some guys at that person, I don't care how it happens. Don't stop. Don't let nobody stop you. Get it done. Or if you don't get it done by the time you get back to us, we're gonna punish you. We're gonna wow you out.
Right.
So you don't want to be labeled like that.
Right. What were you gonna say?
What I was gonna say is an atmosphere that is created for violence.
Okay.
Because I have on I don't know how many occasions where it's guys from this group and guys from this group are on the same unit on lockup, and they'll let a couple of these guys out and will take the handcuffs out, will tell the guys act like you still got them on, and let the other group of guys out, and
then it would be a war.
Yeah.
So why would they do that?
Because like out here, if violence was curtailed, it would be no need
for them.
So there has to be an avenue
for it to
happen, right? And so they create that.
So how has prison changed you? Because how old were you the first time you went into jail? Rikers was the first time.
Yeah,
How old were you now?
I was just 15 turning. I was about 15 turning 16.
And how old were you when you got out? Out of the 20.5-year sentence.
From doing it, I was 15, about to be 16, Rikers Island. After I came out of Rikers Island, I was about 18 years old, hitting Baltimore City. I made it. I survived the streets of Baltimore for less than a year and got a 32-year sentence. So I was about 18, 19 going into the system.
And so then you came out. You were 38.
Yeah, I was close to my 40s.
And how old were you when you first went in?
The first time, I think about 19.
And it was 8 years.
Yeah, about 19, somewhere around there, 18, 19.
And you were out for 10 months.
Yeah.
And then you went in for the 23. And so when you came home, you were 49.
Right.
What is it how has prison changed you? Like, what do you think you needed, like, when you came home? Like, did you feel, like, overwhelmed, like, trying to find a job, trying to build your life?
I'm going to say this. I was so used to this prison lifestyle. Like, I didn't really have a lot of family support. I didn't have no girlfriend. I didn't have none of that. Everything I had was prison. based on jail. My friends in prison was my family. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand, like, I never had a real serious relationship. I had no kids when I was young. I didn't understand female relationship. I didn't understand rules and structures, work and all that. I was just selling drugs. And I wasn't selling drugs to save for a house or a car.
Right.
Everything to me was the thrill of the game. Just to hang out late, do this and do that. So now when it came close to coming home, and I could have came home so many times, because I was doing good and all that. But when it came close to coming, I didn't even, when they called me for parole, I sometimes would turn it down, or I didn't care, because jail.
That was your support system.
Yeah, it was like, my mother sent me a letter one day, and she sent me a money order, and she only wrote a half a page and said, "What's wrong with you? You scared to come home?"
And that's when it triggered and made you think about it?
No, I looked at it like, oh, mom, you tripping. I'll call her. Because I usually wouldn't even call my family. In order for me to survive in prison, I had to blank everything out and not associate no more. My family would have to call to the jail or case manager and force me up in the office to get on the phone. And I would get mad because I get in the routine of calling my family. And when you don't answer that call or you don't do... One thing in prison, we have nothing but time to think. So if you tell me you're going to do something and don't do it, I got so much time to have this conversation with myself, I build rage.
Right.
So the next time I talk to you, I don't want to really curse you out, but why you ain't do that? You told me, and it's about, I don't understand world goes on. I don't understand about bills and these out here. I don't understand what's going on in this world. I understand what's going on in jail. And the only reason that focused me and buckled me down from acting crazy and wild is that both of my parents got sick and died. So when I lost both of my parents...
You were still in prison?
I was in prison on lockup. I was on lockup when I got the first call from the chaplain to call a hospice. And that's like when you about terminal, about to go.
Right.
And I was like, a hospice? What's going on? And the Reverend's like, he's sitting there talking to me and all that. And I know when they call you for this, there's a problem. So I'm like, one of the family members died, I don't even know. That's how I was so far, because I didn't know my family no more. It's like all I knew was prison. So when they called me, I'm like, all right, who? Oh, what cousin and relative of this? And when they told me my father, it like messed me up, because my father was the person I called. My father was, I need a TV in jail, but I wouldn't bother him, but I couldn't. My father was like having a savings account. I couldn't see nothing. He was having no health issue. Nobody. I wasn't staying in contact with my family to realize what was going on in the world.
So how much time did you have left when he passed?
I could have been home. I could at least did 11 years and been home, but I had about 2 more years. A little bit less than a year and a half I had to come home.
So then how long after he passed did your mom pass?
About 2 months, a month behind.
Oh, wow.
And from there, a lot of things changed with me. The way I started moving, I started shutting down. I stopped associating myself with, you know what I mean, I ain't gonna say that I wasn't with the groups no more and all that stuff. And it was times where I really didn't want to go talk to the Muslims. I didn't want to go talk to these other gangs and all that. But I knew that if I didn't talk, it would be such violence in the jail. And it's like I didn't care about people being stabbed no more or nothing like that no more. Before, I'd be like, if my friend gonna be stabbed, I want to help him.
Right.
But now I was like, yo, if it ain't got to concern me. But then I catch myself sitting there talking at the table, asking brothers not to do that. I give you my word as a man, it's not going to happen. And people respect it. And I really didn't want to do that no more, because inside, once I heard about my parents, what happened, I wasn't that wolf no more. Wasn't as, I had to keep the image up that I was a tough, bad guy.
Right.
But I never cried. Even when I got my time, I never really cried. My eyes would water up, and I just wanted to go home so bad.
So when you came home, how long was it before you found your first job? Because you didn't know anything about like how to do a resume.
No.
So how did
on
you
the process,
figure that stuff out?
All right. First of all, prison would teach me a lot of things, but basically when they was teaching me things, I was just adapting it to get by.
Right.
I wasn't not realizing that it was really sticking up here. I went to school, GD, took a little college, did a lot of little things, but not realizing that it was sticking up here.
Right.
Reading these 48 laws and all this, just reading it because everybody talk about it, but not realizing that it was really sticking up here. And I want to from my friends, as I came off lockup and was on my focus on the way to get home, I was getting more in communication with the streets, preparing myself, asking who's out there, who I'm gonna get money from. I'm preparing myself.
Right.
Like in my mind, I thought I was coming home to
sell
sell
drugs
drugs,
again.
to do that. That's how I thought. Like if I don't get no job, I'm selling drugs. I gotta do what I gotta do. My mother and father dead. I don't know where I'm even. I don't even know where I was gonna live at. Relatives is coming at me. I don't know if I want to stay with her and this and that.
Right.
I don't want no rules no more.
Right.
And in the process of that, one of my friends runs into my old, Danielle,
Who's now your wife?
is now my wife. So
He ran into her while you were still locked up.
well, I was still locked up and gave me her number. So talking to her on the phone kind of like occupied most of my time.
And how long did you have at that point to get
I
out?
had
when you
less
started
than
talking to her?
almost a year.
So how did you know it was different with her? How did you know she wasn't going to fall? How did you know she would be a part of that 20% that would actually turn into a relationship?
I didn't
when you
know
came
that.
home? Okay.
I did what any inmate or convict would do in prison. When you have a girl that you can talk to or put money on the phone to, I enjoyed the thrill of the ride. Being in that, she was wifey after the third letter. You know what I'm saying? I'm my wife.
In your
Put some
prison
money-
mind.
In my mind.
Uh-huh.
That's how we do it. She sent me some money. She sending me pictures. I could ask Danielle to do something. She doing it. That's my wife. That's what we consider our girl.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where, our conversation, I practice what I'm going to say before I even say it to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have nothing but time. I'm in there
Because you're
like,
an actor, too.
yeah, so it's like at 12 o'clock, I know I ain't gonna say this because we're gonna wind up arguing. I'm trying to think, how can I get to talk about sex? I'm gonna have to end it over there. Nah, I ain't gonna talk about sex yet. Wait.
Just
wait.
calculating.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying? I'm almost like a predator. You know what I mean? A prey, like I'm
Because you're
preying on
using
her.
that same
So
stuff that you
I
learned.
asked her, like, after she sent me money and told me she loved me and all this stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I know it.
But let me just say this: you guys had dated before. at
Before
some
that,
point, before you
yeah,
went to
even
jail.
before I went to street,
So
but
there
it
was a little
wasn't.
history.
It was a little history, but it wasn't real serious. So
Right.
I was like, again, as the closer I got on the street, the more scary it became with reality.
The closer
Meaning
that it was time for you to get out.
Yeah, I was really nervous. Sometimes I would go in the cell and I would take the remote control and act like it was a phone. I was trying to prepare myself for the street. I would ask so many questions on the phone. I would ask other inmates in there, like, yo, what's this? What's that? What you do when you go out there? Yo, people was telling me all these
Guys that had
names.
gotten out but had come
Came
back.
back in, and he was like, and I asked myself this every day. I asked Danielle to marry me when I was in prison, right? She told me she don't deal with jail people like that. I'm not marrying you in jail. I mean, she kept it real. And if you in a gang, I got kids. I ain't got time for that. So, I had to work my way on it. And I respected it. I said, all right, leave it alone. Wait to see how I am when I get home and all that. So, with her doing this much for me, I wasn't thinking about the other girls that would be out here on the street. Like, the world, what the world has to offer. And my friends told me before I even came home, don't get so fixated on one woman because it's so much out there. But I didn't look. I think I was building security, trying to build security for myself. In the process of building security for myself, I was falling in love and loving the things that she was doing for me and getting done for me. So I think, like, I would get on the phone, my friends would be mad with me because I wouldn't go to the yard no more. I stopped playing basketball. I ain't with that working out stuff. And I would run on the phone. I was buying 20 stamps just to write letters, and I was falling back. Sometimes I would get, both my parents passed, and I would get in a depressed mode. I just want to lay down and sleep. People was trying to shake me out of it, and I just didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? I just didn't want to be bothered. And then I think I wanted to go home, but I was more prepared if anything came up.
So when you came home, how did that look? Because you definitely couldn't stay with Danielle when you came home because she had already told you she had kids and you couldn't.
Yeah,
Because she didn't even let you come to the house for a while.
No. Danielle,
She would meet you out.
Yeah.
Like y'all would meet for lunch someplace.
But I respected it because she don't know if I was a molester or whatever the
Right.
case may be, and she told me about the kids. I seen pictures of the kids and so on and so on. But I looked at it like, I'm just happy to be free.
Right.
What she say is what she say. Me walking to the corner store is an adventure for me.
Right.
I don't care what she say, but I'm respecting it. And at the same time, you gotta remember, I've been gone so long. Like, this is my girl.
Right.
I expect, I'm expecting my rewards now that I'm home. And And the thing about it is, I ain't had no problem with it. I wasn't in such a rush in the beginning, but where I was staying at wasn't a problem. I was just happy. And every day at 7 o'clock, when I was able to leave out that house, I would be with Danielle all day.
So how you were in a transitional home?
No, I stayed at one of my friends in his basement.
Okay. So how long did it take for you to find a job?
I think I had a job. It took me maybe 4 to 5 months.
So how did you fend for yourself then? Like you don't get any type of resources.
I did what the average person do when they come home. We become like a baby again. We want that attention. I became a dependent.
So how did you end up not getting back into selling drugs? How do you think you stayed on the straight and narrow?
I seen what selling drugs can lead. I watched big time drug dealers become less than men, and I got tired of dreaming through other people's stories. Like, I would look at somebody else's photo album and he tell me he did this and did that and did this, and I'd be like, wow, and I'd picture myself in that situation. Or I would get depressed when they be like, oh, the sucker nigga, he never break no law, he don't get in trouble here. You know, and I'm like, them dudes we call suckers is the one that's out there living the good life. I would watch Bill Cosby show and be like, damn, it feel that's how I based my marriage when I came home. I wanted it to be, I said it sometime, like, you know, regardless what Cosby going through, I said, oh, I want that. Come home, wifey cooking, you know, this, that. I based on how I was going to live my life from the TV show, Parenthood, and them things like that.
Shows, yeah.
When I used to watch the Grady Brunch, I used to get teary-eyed, like, damn, nigga, everybody eating breakfast. And I wanted, so I looked at that, and the other thing that made me really, really like, it's times I get tempted to go to the street life, and
because are there moments where you said to me one time before, you miss?
Yeah, it was like
you'll talk to them in prison and you're like, damn, I feel like I'm missing out.
It was
or you feel like they need you.
I felt not so much need. I felt I missed that attention. You know what I mean? I miss
the popularity.
Yeah, I miss people saying, "Yo, we need you to go do this. Hey, can you get this done?" I miss people asking me that. And then when I watch my friends that are all selling drugs, the nice cars and doing all this, and they looking up to me, and here I am, I ain't even got about $40 in my pocket, really scared to spend it, and they like, yo, come on, we gonna go to the club and live it up. And I'm watching, and I'm like, that just he like, yo, let me know if you need something. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get that thirsty feeling, like, I want to do something, you know what I mean? I want the nice clothes everybody else got. The temptation was great, but again, I think what kept me again is that I didn't want to face going back to prison, letting the people that I promised, and definitely my parents, that they wasn't here. I didn't want to go through that again. You know what I mean? It was depressing.
Right.
It was like, I just mentally, I'm not there no more. I think that if it, God forbid, if it happened again, it wouldn't be such a nervous breakdown, but I think I really wound up hurting somebody or myself.
Right. So, Jimmy, when you came home, that day that we picked you up, I had just moved back from L.A., and your birthday was coming up. Your 50th birthday was about to come up.
Yeah.
What was that day like? What did that day look like? Did you have some of the same feelings that Lucky had in terms of feeling overwhelmed, wondering how you were going to fend for yourself, whether or not you were going to be able to find a job? And then when you think about it, technology has changed. There's cell phones and text messaging. Even though you've seen cell phones and stuff in prison, but I remember trying to teach you how to text. So like, how did that look for you?
For me, because I said the other day when we were talking, it's kind of like I never existed because I never had a job. So that alone was the issue. My background, my criminal background, was an issue. Everything coming home. Of course, I was happy. I was excited, but I had no idea what I was in for. And even though I had, I would talk to a lot of guys that had came home, and they were giving me whatever information they felt that I needed. But one thing I came to understand is that being told something and stepping into it is like night and day, right? And then, because I had been gone so long, my trust was there. And even with family to an extent, I'm not gonna say a lack of trust, but because we didn't know anybody, we didn't know each other anymore because I had been gone all those years, and a lot of people in the family I didn't communicate with at all, some here and there. So it was an adjustment to my family and society because everything that I remembered was no longer here.
And even like seeing family members who didn't even look the same anymore. Like,
Right, that was a whole nother situation. And then the way I did my time, like I did, somebody taught me how to do my time, so I did my time in like 3-year increments.
You never owned a calendar.
I never owned a calendar, and so in 3 years I would be into different things. 3 years I would be into this. 3 years into this.
Meaning like you might go to school for.
Yeah, I might study relationships for 3 years. I might do history for 3 years. And then like I was connected to a religious movement, so I did a lot of different things. I was exposed to a lot of information through reading, through school, and a wealth of information from guys that were locked up. Because of that, I kind of feel like now, looking at it now, that it kind of put me at a disadvantage because everybody grows but not at the same rates. And so like a large majority or maybe most of my family were where they were. And so like, and I can remember having a conversation with my father about that. And what he said was, everything that you went through made you who you are. So do you negate what you went through to appease?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so at the end of the day, I have to be who I am. But it was definitely overwhelming. And the thing, I had an opportunity to go into like a transitional house when I came home because I wasn't able to go to camp because they deemed me unsuitable for minimum security. So I came home straight from prison. And so thinking that I was mentally prepared, I was not.
Right.
But it took me a couple of months to realize that I was stuck, and I went through a period of depression.
Because I remember when we picked you up and we pulled onto Mommy Street, you were like, "Where we at? Who live over here?" I was like, "This is the house."
Right, exactly.
Like he didn't even recognize.
Right. Because again, everything.
He grew up there.
40-something years.
He did not recognize.
Because everything.
Who lives here?
Because
the
block, the geography of the block had changed.
Yeah.
The lands, everything.
had changed.
Trees
Yeah.
where they were no trees, and and so it's like, and I can remember my first time really going out by myself because I wouldn't go out by myself for a while, and I went down to Goodwill to sign up for the job readiness program, and Ty took me.
Our nephew.
And I thought the process was gonna be like an hour or something, so I was like, I'll call you like an hour. But it was only a few minutes. So I called him, said, man, I'm finished, whatever, come and get me. So he's like, all right, come around on Baltimore Street. So I walk around Baltimore Street, and it's people out doing what they doing. And so I went into a panic attack because I'm used to the prison culture. Like, I don't know these people. So I got my back on the wall, and I don't know, people probably looking at me like I'm crazy. But like, I went into a panic attack, and I called him. I'm like, man, you gotta come get me. He said, come. I'm like, no, right now. Mm-hmm. Like, you gotta come right this minute.
And see, you
know
never
what I'm
had
saying?
that experience, right? So it happens to people differently. Because even like when you came home that weekend, took you to dinner, and like all the extended family was there. Yeah, and he just like panicked because like all of these family members were coming around hugging and he just like looking like,
yeah, and it was too much. Right. Because again, although they family, it's like we don't know each other anymore.
And then there were family members that he didn't even recognize. Like,
right,
who is this? They
right,
gained weight.
and, right,
like, oh.
and then in that culture, like, you don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
do all that touching.
Yeah, on certain occasions, if you know the relationship. But like, again, like most of these people, I so I was like, man, what the?
But it's crazy you say that because just like when I was messing with Danielle, meeting her family,
right?
And I knew some of them from prison, and I'm sitting at the table, and I'm not realizing they talking about Dollar, and they Jimmy this, Jimmy that, and I'm like,
right.
what? Who, I know Jimmy. And you're like, oh yeah, you was locked up with him. I'm thinking. And now over the years, I can't remember that. And they telling me, now you gotta remember, I look at him in a different aspect. Regardless of what he might go through or been through, I see him in the way I met him. So when y'all saying, oh, I remember when he fell off the bike or anything, something crazy and it's funny, I'm laughing and all that. But when I see him, I still be like, Dollar, what's up? I mean, I can't get into a Jimmy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I got it. It's like if I feel like if I'm saying that, I'm being kind of disrespectful. And and the part that when you say, did I ever have a panic attack? No, I never had a panic attack dealing with people because I'm very, you know what I mean? I got a friendly demeanor.
Right.
And my only thing was I couldn't remember the faces as well. After being in prison so long.
You couldn't remember whose faces?
Like different from enemies from friends.
Oh, so, okay. I got it.
So when you don't, most of the time I was on point with that, but I didn't have to worry about that because I have other people come tell me that we not dealing with these people or don't go over there. So now I didn't go to Goodwill, I went to America Work. I was going to a lot of programs. You know what I mean? I even signed up for school when I came home and all this because I wanted to, it wasn't even that I wanted to really go to school. I just wanted to be out around people.
Right.
And there was people that was walking up to me and they was like, this is the part that was bugging me out. They was telling me about such a bad guy I was in jail. I remember how you stabbed this and did this, and I'm looking at him like, yeah. But when somebody come around, I'm like, yo, keep it low.
Right.
Yo, I don't
but
wanna
also,
know
you said there was a period where you were trying to figure out, okay, was this a person that was on the enemy side?
I'll have to let him talk because I really wouldn't know, and
Right.
it was crazy because it'd be a cookout that we'd go to, and I look on it. Like, when I first looked at the news, I really looked at the news. It, like, scared me. I'm on the bus, like, whoa, I'm not having a panic attack, but I'm like, what's going on? Has he got a gun on him?
Right,
you know what I'm saying? I'm looking, in jail, we look at, you know what I mean? We look at you at the face, and you going to turn or I'm going to turn.
Right.
And I had to learn how to humble myself. I had to learn from, like, I'm looking you in the face, waiting for you to turn the other way. I had to learn not to do that because certain people don't mean no harm by that.
So you would stare somebody down?
Yeah, I would do the jail aspect things, and then it's like, I'd be on the bus, and in prison, we look at a female like, we can just see them naked by the clothes they wear. So when a woman or somebody get on the bus, I'm like, I'm just staring. I'm hypnotized.
You know, something that was an issue for me. Like when I came home, certain people in the family was aware of my association, and so they had expectations.
What association? What do you mean?
With the friends that I
associated with when you were locked up?
Right. And not only that, like in the case of my...
So you saying other family members of ours that had been to jail?
No, I had not been, but had heard.
Okay.
However they heard.
Right.
Okay. And, you know, again, had expectations that, you know, I was going to do certain things or I could make certain things happen. And one glaring, my oldest nephew, Ty. Right, and coupled with that and whatever he heard about me growing up, because
so you're saying he thought that when you came home that it was going to be some power moves for him.
Right, and so I had to have the conversation with him that that part of my, and I had that conversation with him prior, but you know one thing I come to understand is
you told me that.
You cannot control the way people think.
Right.
But I can understand it because a lot of guys that I grew up with, because he cuts hair, you know, he
passed through his chair.
Right. And so again,
he heard
like
this legend.
Right. And so like I'm like this mythical person, and then you couple it with what he heard about the prison situation. Because if you talk to, because I can remember a situation where a female I used to deal with, right? And her son was a friend that I wasn't acquainted with. And he had an occasion where he got locked up. And him and I had never had a conversation up to this point. We had met, but that was it. And so he goes over to jail.
Our nephew went to the jail.
No,
the son.
One of my ex's sons.
Right.
He goes over to jail, and he has a minor altercation, right? And so I call somebody over there. Come to find out, the guy he had the altercation with, he's a friend as well. They didn't know each other. And so I called a friend of mine, and so he calls his mother the next day. Is like, let me speak to him. Let me speak to him. He was like, man, you
worked
like
that
the,
out, yeah.
right? He was like, man, they talk about you like, you understand what I'm saying? But it's and it's hard. It's really hard to explain. Well, I've always been a guy that stood by my word. If I say something, that's what it is.
How did that affect your ego coming home? Because you were this mover and shaker in prison and can make things happen. What does that feel like when you come home and, like you said, Lucky, you dependent on people, you don't have a job?
Well, I'm like, my situation is not like that because my family was supportive. And when I came home, I had my family was supportive,
Yeah.
and I had two cousins that were in the street heavily, and so I got a lot of favor from them. And my father made a way for some
things to happen.
Yeah, so I was all right, but I've always been like, I'm not the guy like you can't keep giving me stuff. That's not who I am. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's pride or ego, like I gotta stand on my own feet. And so again, when I felt like for the first time in my life I'm doing all the right things, I did the Goodwill, I did a couple of other little programs, and nothing came through. And so I'm like, damn, now I decided to do the right thing, and nothing is working for me. But I never had a thought of never entered my mind.
Right.
And so I really humbled myself and started selling waters on Park Heights and Northern Parkway, because I had a moment of depression because again I feel like for the first time and nothing, and so like.
Well, let me language it the way that you said it to me. You said, I've never lived on the right side of the law, so this is the first time in my life that I actually want to do the right thing.
Right, exactly. Because the thing for me was I have so many years behind me, and I don't know what's in front of me.
Right.
So I wanted to try to make the most of everything, and truth be told, that the depressive moment is what caused me to start using, because I had not. Like I had the entire time I was gone, and again something else we didn't talk about, but I spoke to him about it. Like,
You spoke to who?
my father, because for the entire time I was locked up, yes, he was
Getting you stuff.
making it happen for me.
Really?
Yeah, him and one of my cousins.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's a lot of
Right.
I just want before you wrap it up, I just wanted to say this, right? And I always kept it to myself. When he talked about drugs and in prison, right? We always get the urge to do anything to change reality.
Right.
We don't want to focus on the everyday thing of life. And remember, I always thought people that smoke weed was dope fiends and drug addicts. So I started smoking weed at a late age, 16. Just come, you know what I mean?
16 is late?
Yes. Compared to New York, yes.
Oh, you mean
It's
because you were
nostalgic.
in,
Yeah, it's nostalgic.
you mean because you were in prison, or you
No, because I was already in the streets. I would watch people smoke weed and let them blow it on me just so I could look like I smoke weed. Or take a puff and be like, and blow it out just so my breath would smell like that.
Right.
I started smoking cigarettes because I wanted to be in the in crowd.
Right.
I never really, I was really high into sports. And just to touch this note, I was in a cell with somebody that was catching dope real heavy. And I would see the effects that dope would have on a person and all this. And one day, he lined it up. And I was like, what are you doing? And I'm thinking like, you selling drugs, you fresh, and you got all these fly clothes on. He's like, yeah, I'm just taking something to help get me through the night. I got a lot on my mind. I'm curious, I'm what it do to you? How you feel your body? He like, yo, you never did it before? He like, nah. He say, yo, if you never did it, you just gonna throw up for a minute, you're gonna be all right. Now I'm like, nah, I'm not, you sniff dope, you're a dope fiend.
Right.
But I tried it. And I'm gonna tell you this. It was the worst feeling I ever felt in my life, and
So
it
you
was
never
like
did it again?
never. And I felt so like ashamed because I was trying to control something that my body wouldn't let me control. Meaning that when I wanted to come out on the 10 and be like everybody else, because everybody was doing it. It was a part of the. Even when I was in the streets of Baltimore, it was kids doing that. You know what I'm saying? That I was looking at crazy. And when that happened, it was my friends that was looking at me funny, like, why you acting like that? What's wrong with you? I was like trying to fight it, And I'm like, yo, I'm getting tired. I'm getting, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not myself. They were like, yo, go in the cell and go to sleep. I'm good. And I would stare at you too long, and I would go into and they was like, yo, what's wrong? I wouldn't tell nobody what happened.
Right.
Because I felt like, in a sense, it was like, I did, you know what I mean? Did something so bad.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that when I see somebody do it, and now, you know, I can see how easy people come home and really get caught up in it. Because it's so much. It's easy to get, and it takes you out of reality, just such as drinking and smoking weed.
Because even when you come home, it's like you have the pressure of the world on you to try to live this.
Yes, I had a $5 hour job. I think I was drinking 2 beers every day.
Because you were working a $5 an hour job. Right?
I didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
it was depressing.
Yeah.
I tried to take the $150 to my wife and tell her, Gad, put some of that to the bill. She talking about, Gad, that's your first check. And I'm thinking like, oh, she don't want that. But one thing people don't realize, I was getting $32 a month in prison, and I made it look like so much that $150, I thought in the real world, I'm good. $200, $300. I don't understand that things cost.
Right. Because you were saying you were so used to getting your money and spending it right away.
Yeah, like it would come right. Like if you spend it in prison, if you a hustler, you could spend $200-$300 and know how to make $200-$300 back.
Right.
I didn't understand that.
Let me try to say this. I just developed a respect for money.
Okay.
I
Because you got it so easy.
Right, and so like
even
like
before you went to jail.
Yeah, and even in
Right.
jail, right? I can remember an occasion when like I had lost like $1,500, like a girl that ran off. Like it really wasn't an issue. And so like truth be told, when your mother was sending the money and I would send it back because I'm good.
Right.
Because not only my father,
my mother was sending the money.
right,
Not our mother.
but your mother's like, and I can't say I'm
Right.
so
Yeah,
I gotta take it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's crazy because it's like I got my father and one of my cousins, and so like I'm getting like when you could get packages, like I get 4 packages and different people's names. Just,
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because they have a limit on how many packages each
Yeah, you
person
can
can
only
get.
get one.
But you would have it in other people's
Right,
names.
right,
Okay.
right.
What is it that you think people coming into the world need to matriculate? What is it that you think you need, and what is it that you think needs to be fixed in terms of a person coming home from prison to really adjust and fit in?
Mental health off the top, because prison, I don't care what you did in the street, prison is going to leave psychological scars on you. It's going to. Housing, job readiness, any re-entry skill that will help a person transition.
Right.
Because even though we are human and we can adapt, coming from that, it gives you a false concept of reality.
Right.
Because you come out here and it's kind of like you dyslexic. Like you just said, he's looking at $150 like it's a lot of money. Because the non-reality like you don't have any bills. The only thing you need to do is take care of yourself and pray that you wake up the next day.
Right.
But coming here, like you got the world because you got to take care of yourself. You got to pay bills. And especially for a person who's never been in the position to work and have that kind of responsibility for yourself. Because when you come from where we come from, like you wake up, you go to sleep, you don't have no worries because it's there.
Right.
You can wake up and do what you want to do.
So even if there's some sort of course or something as you're about to be released where you're taught how to set up power bills.
Once you transition through the system.
I don't disagree with Dollar said, but my whole thing is, I did it. You know what I mean? I'm a living proof.
You
I
figured
did.
it out.
Yeah, and it's not hard to figure out. Motivation and Thrive, it drove me a long way. Not only with the support of my wife and a few family members that was in my corner that gave me that help, but I think inmates or convicts or however they want to classify themselves that's got a serious bid and on their way home, they should have some type of counseling. Somebody like an outreach they can talk to. Because it's things that is on a person's mind that he really don't want to say or he ain't prepared for the world. You know what I mean? I think that even when they come home, it should be somewhere where they can go and just be themselves and talk about it. Because when I came home, people looked at me like this young man, this innocent guy. They didn't look at me like I was a wolf. that I would cut your throat as well as shake your hand. They can't even comprehend that I was a bad guy. You understand what I'm saying? Because I got to put a con on. So I think that there should be some way or a program set forth for people to talk to people that have been in their situation and can just be yourself. I respect you for who you were, not what you are or what you becoming. You know what I mean? I just dealt with the person that if I like this person because
But I was glad to hear you and the other guy who actually had to leave early. I was glad to hear you both say that if a straight guy, a heterosexual guy, comes into prison and has experiences, but then gets released and he never does it again, never thinks about it again, he only did it because of the circumstance of being locked up, that you don't believe that makes them gay. I was glad to hear that because I believe that a person's sexuality, whether you straight or gay, is how you're wired. It's your instinct. I don't think that,
I think, like you just say, I'm not, you know what I mean, smart or know the world, but I look at it, my opinion rather, with a person that's into that lifestyle.
We're going to talk about lifestyle on another show, but go ahead.
Okay, but yeah, that's in the same.
Community.
I look at it like this when I seen it in prison, like he had oral sex with another guy, right? Now, not saying I agree or disagree, I'm not pro or con on it, but having sex with a female, oral sex with a female, you had oral sex with that guy, lights is off. How you really telling the difference?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't tell me. My brother said to me when I was younger, and I remember this, and it stuck with me and kind of messed with me when the girl told me to do it to her in the butt. So I told him, I felt like it was a status quote on me. He said, if you could do it to a girl in the butt, you'll do it to a guy in the butt. What's the difference?
Well, I don't agree with that.
Listen,
you got to be careful with that because there's a stigma.
Of what?
You've been incarcerated for.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
That you have done.
And
that.
I was going.
So,
well, that's why I wanted to have this conversation because that's not the case for everybody.
A lot of women that are into that, even still, you got to be careful because
they
be like, why do you
want to do it to me?
Listen,
right.
And down. Only reason why I mentioned that
do
because
it to me in my butt. You got me saying that.
But the only reason why I mentioned that because if you turn the lights out and if you're having sex with a girl in the butt and if you're having sex with a guy in the butt, I'm not saying I don't know what's going on.
Well, that's why I said it's about how you're wired because it's not about the action itself. It's really about how you're wired mentally.
Okay, again, just like how I say about the gangs and stuff. A lot of gangs is misinterpreted and misunderstood. A lot of people that mess around or into the gay lifestyle and all that.
Gay community.
We're
gonna work on that.
Yeah, because I got a hard time with it. But anyway,
go ahead.
All I'm saying is I respect the person if that is really what he is. Right. Don't fake me out and you doing this because you in prison and you frustrated and you trying to get a release. Right. And then you come home talking about, yo, this my girl. I ain't gay. Right. I ain't never did nothing. Nah, be yourself because it's going to be hard for me. I respect the dude or anybody that if that's what you is, just live it and love it.